Hello everybody, welcome to episode 8 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. I'm your co-host Rob Woodbridge from Untether.t, and with me is...
Asif Khan from the LBM.
And as you guys all know, the guys who have listened to this more than once, the people who have listened to this or watched this, we do this to recap the week that was and the week that will be in location-based marketing from around the world. This is the place where you can get your definitive answers about what's going on in location-based marketing, all in one spot, all inside of 30 minutes, and all in your drive-in on Monday morning. And again, this week was always as busy as last. I don't think we'll ever have a letdown. But before we really begin, I want to do two quick announcements. One of them is that we now have a separate RSS feed, separate from the Untether.tv RSS feed of this podcast. So you can actually get it from iTunes, and we'll be posting an RSS feed somewhere around here if you're looking for just the episodes of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. At iTunes, just go to, just do a search for This Week in Location, and you'll find it. There's a video and an audio stream, and it's yours free. Grab it, and then you'll never miss one moment of this podcast, which is very important if you're in this industry.
Absolutely.
Second thing is I want to do a little call out. I want to say thank you to Sandy, who left a great comment on our episode 7. I really appreciate the feedback. You can go and see what you had to say. It was very complimentary about Asif and what we're doing here. And please leave your comments. It's the cheapest way to get your name in audio and in podcasts. So if you send a picture, we'll post it as well.
Yeah, and we appreciate the comments, but also, as much as there's lots going on every week, and we sort through and figure out what stories to bring to you here. If there's products, if there's solutions that you guys see out there, the followers see out there, let us know, and we're happy to put them into the mix to talk about.
Yeah, and if you've got a relative that's celebrating a birthday, we'll do those too. Location-based birthday announcements. We'll just go from east to west. So we'll get right into this. This was the week that I think Groupon answered all of those questions about why they turned down all of that money from Google. They turned down $6 billion or so because obviously they have big plans.
Yeah, they've got big plans, and it starts with the raising of their latest round of funding, which by all reports is $950 million. We can round that up and call it they've raised $1 billion, which is the largest venture capital raise that's ever been done from anything I've been able to track down. So just a huge number. And so that's going to give them lots of fuel to do more acquisitions and grow into some of their markets. But they're already talking about moving towards an IPO as early as the spring. So
$1 billion, man. So just talk about this for a moment, because $1 billion, Facebook just raised $500 million, and had a valuation of $50 billion. So Groupon raising close to $1 billion. Why wouldn't they just say $1 billion? Maybe there's a tax reason or something we don't understand. But $950 million to do what? To expand their market? And it just seems kind of crazy to spend that much money or invest that much money into a coupon company or a discount company. So what's the logic behind this?
Well, I think one of the considerations, and I'm no expert on the laws and the rules for reporting structures for big companies like this, but my understanding is that once you hit a certain threshold of numbers of shareholders, you then have to start to report all your earnings numbers and everything else. So yeah. I think one of the key things here for them is to take a whack of this cash and allow some of the early investors and a ton of their employees to cash out now and realize some of the rewards now, which will also position them better for moving towards an IPO. So, yeah, a lot of this money is for some other acquisitions and moving into some other international markets that they're currently not in. But a big chunk of it is to actually clean up the shareholder. Current shareholder mix and let some people cash out.
So I don't doubt that these guys know what they're doing. I'm hoping, because we've seen in the last month some massive investments, and everybody's ringing through this .com, you know, .com 2.0, and is that a concern for us? Because I mean, if you think about it, DST, Fidelity, Morgan Stanley, Kleiner Perkins was also in this round, but it's an insane amount of money that they've raised. Are we worried about that? And obviously towards an IPO that could be far greater than the $6 billion valuation that Google put on it. Should we all be worried? Is this the beginning of that? How do I get involved?
Should we be worried? I don't know. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I mean, I think that, you know, quite frankly, I'm glad that, you know, they didn't go ahead with the Google deal. You know, too much control in one company can't be a good thing. Yep. So, you know, if they do move towards an IPO, you know, I think it spurns, you know, Google and Apple and Facebook to, you know, to do more and innovate. And we talk a lot on this show about the lack of innovation. Yep. And hopefully, you know, some of this $950 million will be used to actually create some new IP and some new products and services as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not overly worried about it. You know, I think it's good that some of these early investors and shareholders, employees, are gonna cash out. And you know, I look forward to buying some shares in the public offering.
The question is that what I'm really asking is how do I get in on this? How do I get in? How do I get involved? So that you know, I was a part of the .com version 1. I'd love to be a bigger part of .com version 2. You know. Well,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see like what the, I mean, the current thinking is that if they IPO in the spring, the valuation of the company will be about $15 billion. Yeah. You know, so that's pretty significant. And considering, you know, when Google did their IPO, I think they raised, or I think they offered up, it was about $23 billion, I think, was the market cap. Yeah. Around there. So, you know, benchmarking against that's pretty good, I would say.
It's just, yeah, hopefully they innovate to the tune of that every dollar that they've got here goes towards innovation. But and if anybody has any tips about how to get involved in this, let me know, because I'm very interested in participating in the Founder Share series. Not when it goes public, right before it goes public. Right?
Yeah.
As is everybody, I'm sure. So in answer to that, Living Social buys a company in Europe.
Yeah, so Living Social bought a company that at least I'm certainly not all that familiar with, you know, called Let's Bonus. Now, this is a group buying site. From what I understand, the research that I did on it, they're pretty heavily invested in the Latin markets, you know, the Spanish-speaking markets, Argentina, Spain, etc. Yep. And, you know, a good move, you know, like Groupon's talking about with some of their war chest now, you know, about kind of expanding internationally into other markets. You know, Living Social is trying to do the same. Now, whether they're going to be able to compete with $950 million, I don't know. But, you know, taking out some of these companies that potentially Groupon would be interested in is not a bad strategy.
Well, I think it is. I mean, there's a consolidation play here, obviously, in this industry. As Groupon just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the smaller guys are either going to disappear or going to band together. And you know, the only question I would have about Let's Bonus, it's a terrible name, and as Robin Waters says from TechCrunch, it really sounds like Let's Bone Us. So it's a tough name to say, right? But,
yeah, well, perhaps it's one of those things that you know, is kind of lost in the translation. I don't know.
I think it might be.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a quirky name. So.
But the question I have about this is the European market. I mean, you know, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Argentina, and Mexico. Are those markets the same as the U.S. and Canada when it comes, or North America when it comes to, you know, the coupon hunting? You know, is it the same behaviors, or is Living Social getting into something that they don't understand? You know, are the buying habits the same? I don't know. I don't see a lot of Europeans, and this might be because I'm not exposed to it every day, but I don't see a lot of Europeans walking around with coupons in hand. You know, going to the bakery on the corner and handing in a coupon. So you know, is this something, or group buying Is this something?
Yeah, I think it is to some extent pretty big business in some of these other markets. You know, and a lot of these countries too. You gotta recognize that, you know, unlike you know, the sophisticated, I'll call it, you know, not to you know, kind of demote anybody, but unlike you know, the North America and kind of the mainstream European markets, where you have societies that are driven off of credit and you know, very, very public infrastructural type systems from the way transactions are handled. A lot of these Latin countries, in particular South America, cash is still king. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of people, you may work for a business, you're still getting paid in cash. Yeah. And so, you know, and a lot of these people, as a result, don't even have credit cards or have no credit history for that matter. And so, you know, the idea of group buying, the idea of, you know, banding together with a bunch of people and buying something at a you know, for less cash than you would pay for it, you know, I think has some merit. The other thing too is you know, a lot of these countries have leapfrogged, you know, what we have here in North America, you know, with traditional telephone systems, and have gone right to mobile and cellular, right? Yeah. And so that means, you know, the propensity for you know, smartphones and mobile in countries like Brazil, for example, are just way up there in comparison to, you know, some, you know, North America for that matter. So in terms of, you know, total penetration. So you know, yeah, I think it's a good move. And, you know, while Groupon's got 950 million, you know, Living Social has raised 275 million, so it's nothing to sneeze at. You know, I'd be happy to take a little bit of that from them and help them figure out how to use it. But it's you know, and some of that's come from Amazon as well. So Amazon's one of their big shareholders, and you know, I think it's a good move. And I think also too, the other thing about Let's Bonus is they're not just in group buying. They have a whole bunch of other services. They have a thing called Escapes, which is a travel business. And so they use that somewhat like we've talked about before with Gowalla, to build curated travel experiences using location services. So there's a number of things that they're tying together with group buying, which I think is not a bad thing for Living Social to kind of broaden their horizons. A
little bit of differentiation, and you're right. You can't. What can't be lost in this is the $175 million at Amazon. You know, arguably the world's greatest online retailer and purveyor of digital products. It has invested into Living Social. So there's a battle brewing here between what's going on with Groupon and Living Social. It just seems that it's certainly skewed towards Groupon right now.
Sure.
You know, I think $950 million and an imminent IPO, which is good for the industry, I suppose. So staying across the pond, let's talk about O2 and Orange offering. You know, the only way I can describe it is really mobile coupons. Is that a good way to describe what's going on with them, or what they're getting into?
I think it's mobile coupons. You know, I think the key here is, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, AT&T last week and their location information services. So really what we're talking about now is the carriers are finally trying to, you know, finally enter this game in some form, you know, and participate in the location business. And they've kind of sat on the sidelines because I think for them, you know, up until now, you know, the technology's hindered them a little bit in the sense that, you know, they're not, carriers aren't set up to go after an app play. They're not set up really to go and deal directly with brands. You know, that's not their primary business. But you have a couple of factors coming together. And when I say it's not their business, historically it's not been their business.
Right.
But what you have now is, in North America anyways, and I'm less familiar with the European market, but you have carriers now that are buying up media companies. And merging, you know, those assets together. So what you have is this perfect storm of large networks of mobile subscribers, and in some cases cable companies as well. So you have television networks and subscribers. You have huge amounts of content that you own by buying media companies. and you have a vast audience that's ready to kind of accept that content and pay for it. So as you start to combine all of these different pieces, and then you layer in location on top of that, now you kind of got all the elements that you need. Yeah. And the piece that's been missing on the technology side is NFC. And now we're getting to that point. We talked about Google testing, NFC stickers in Portland a few weeks ago. You've got the devices now, the latest Android devices, the Nexus phone have NFC. Rumors are that Apple's iPhone 5 will have NFC in it.
And so, RIM just even announced that their latest, I think their next either Curve or their Bold is going to have NFC capabilities as well. And I think it's actually it's imminent or about to be released. So, I think that's good.
So I think the key thing here, if you're a carrier, now's the time to kind of get in and start experimenting, because if you have NFC capable devices, it actually solves one of the missing elements that we have to deal with today, which is I can deliver all the coupons I want. And this is a problem for Groupon too, by the way. I can deliver all the coupons I want, but if they're not easy for consumers to redeem them in the store, then you have a big problem, right? If the guy or gal working at the cash, in the grocery store can't actually scan that coupon on your mobile device, you have a problem. So enter NFC, and now we have mobile payments to solve that. So if I can tie that somehow to NFC, and the carriers are going to control that through devices that they're pushing out, then I think this is why we're starting to see them enter the market.
It's interesting because when I first saw this, I thought it's gonna impact obviously a lot of the couponing businesses that are out there, and I'm all for that, because as we talk about often in this, Asif, is if it's about innovation, bring it on. My biggest challenge with location-based anything, not location-based, but the check-in economy that we've called it, is that it's so passive. Right? When the whole premise is that when I'm at or near a location and I stamp myself at or near a location, I get benefit from being there. But really, I think what the carriers are opening up here, O2 and Orange, is the ability to drive traffic to stores, drive traffic to their partners by doing things like this. I'm not talking about blatant SMS and opt in automatically coupons and those kind of things, or sniffing about where I am and then pushing relevant information, or geofencing without my permission. But what I'm talking about is discounts, right? So if your carrier is going to give you a discount for your service operating, and you get coupons every once in a while based on your profile, that could actually drive activity to stores or partners, instead of me actually having to be there and check in and then get something. Right?
And put that very simply, I talk all the time, in the check-in economy, that we've seen up until now. I talk about value and relevance, right, as a consumer.
Yep.
And so if it's not valuable and it's not relevant to me, then I'm not going to do it. And now, if you add the carrier mix into that, I would say value, relevance, and with NFC and the ability to have mobile payments, now it's value, relevance, and ease of use.
Yeah.
I would say, right? So those are the three things that we need to be looking for.
Well, it's interesting to see. So this should be rolled out sometime this year, obviously, in the next little while.
Yeah, I think they're running a whole bunch of pilots and tests, over the course of the next few months. And there's already, retailers in the UK like Tesco and Boots and people like that. They're testing cashless point of sale systems and things that will work with NFC. So it's happening.
So this is really, do you think that this is an answer to, I think that obviously carriers made a lot of money off of applications, J2ME phones on Java phones, but with the walls that are around the app worlds and app stores and Android marketplace, all of a sudden they're not making that money anymore, because the smartphones are going directly to the app stores. So they must be looking at this saying, okay, if we bring in FC, if we bring the ability to do purchases, and you can say add that to your carrier bill, then they're going to benefit from this, obviously, because they're going to pay the retailer, they're going to take their piece. And is that going to complement, or is that going to replace the revenue that they're generating from apps and J2ME stuff? Europe's a different story, I understand that, but if that, there's obviously a huge revenue opportunity here.
Yeah, no, I think it will offset some of that because, as I've said many times now, I think apps are, going to die off pretty quickly. Except for, banking and
enterprise apps,
aggregation apps and things like that. But the general, kind of branded app environment, a single app for a specific brand, unless it's a luxury brand, I don't see much of that. So I think a lot of that is going to go away. And you're going to see now this kind of move to taking a piece of the transaction payments along the way, which only makes sense.
Yep. So, what might precipitate the demise of the checking economy, especially for benefits, or will force people to innovate, I think, depending on the way you look at it, is our next story, which is this massive Poynt patent, or massive patent that was awarded to Poynt this week. Poynt's a Canadian company, so good on Canada.
Good on Canada. Yeah, there you go.
But let's talk about that.
Great company, basically, centered around the BlackBerry community, obviously being where they are. I understand almost 5 million subscribers of the Poynt application. So fairly decent base, very similar in size to Where, which I think is just over 4 million as well. And I mentioned Where because we talked about Where being awarded a patent, similar patent, a couple weeks ago around geofencing. So I think the interesting thing here is, let's just talk for a minute about the patent and contrast the patents. So I think the U.S. Patent Office is obviously being pretty lenient here, awarding similar patents to many companies. Where Facebook has a patent in this area, Apple has patents that they've been working on for some time now around delivering offers on device and things like that. So I think a lot of people are going to have various patents in this space. And so just to contrast the two most recent ones, Poynt and Where, my understanding of these two is the Where patent has to do with creating a geofence around a specific person, okay, an individual, and basically creating that fence around where this person's moving.
Yep.
The Poynt patent, it has to do with creating a geofence around a particular business or location.
Yeah.
So how you want to break that up, and if you're a lawyer,
at some point they cross over.
Yeah, they cross over. I don't know. And then Apple has patents in the works. I'm not sure if they've been approved yet that have to do with. So, sorry, just one step back. Both Where and Poynt have to do with using GPS to determine that location.
Yeah.
So has nothing and doesn't comment at all about using cell tower triangulation or Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Now, Apple has patents in the works around delivering offers and deals using Wi-Fi on their device. So again, you're going to see all kinds of movement and positioning around the nuances of this space.
Well, the way that it was described, it was that this patent is the patent that was awarded to Poynt was for delivering location-based offers and coupons to mobile smartphones based on GPS location and user profile. So obviously, a good combination of that. And I think that the key there is that tag on is the user profile side. But they looked at it. Their CEO, Andrew Osis, says that he looks at this patent as an important protective feature and barrier to entry for competitors. So unlike where when we talked about Where a couple of weeks ago, we thought that generally this is not an aggressive patent that they applied for. Hopefully that it's not that. But when it comes to Poynt, this sounds to me like aggressive. We all know a lot of companies. There are, I don't even know, hundreds maybe companies playing in this mobile coupon space based on your location. I've interviewed a bunch of them, and they're changing their business models. But the biggest one I know is Yowza. Get Yowza. Greg Grunberg runs that company. But this has, if I read this well, and I didn't read the patent, so I'm totally going by the seat of my pants here. But based on the description, this has massive impact on not only those companies, but it could have companies like retail establishments, Barnes & Nobles in the United States, for example, or Borders up here in Canada, chapters. What happens when they run on-location deals based on the GPS location of being in a store and the profile that they have from the Amazon store, the Borders of the Barnes & Noble store profile, that data they have on you. That's a direct infringement of this patent. So this sounds like a very aggressive patent, but as we discussed before the show,
yeah,
a patent, you can only defend. It's only aggressive if you defend against it, right?
Yeah, it's all about your ability to defend the patent, right? And we both know there's companies out there that their full-time business is pursuing patent infringement. And I'm not sure that that's Poynt's thought here. I think this is a feather in their cap, similar to where I think it gives them very, very strong positioning. They are trying to grow their business internationally into other markets. I know they're very active in Europe right now and in the U.S. This is just another thing that they should be proud that they've accomplished. This patent, similar to where it was applied for eons ago. I understand that they applied for this in 2000, even though they didn't actually launch the Poynt service until 2008. So this is something that's been in the works for a long time. I think good on them.
Yep.
We'll see how aggressive they can be. They don't have $950 million in funding to go and hammer everybody for patent infringement. So
who buys them? Who buys them then?
Who buys them? It's a good question.
Somebody's got to for this paper.
Yeah, I think so. But what's the time horizon for that? I think if I'm Poynt, I want to continue to into my international expansion, grow my business, go from 4.8 to 10 million subscribers, and then start to think a little bit more about where I'm going to go. I wouldn't speculate too much on that. But the other thing too is you mentioned the idea of Barnes and Noble or retailers possibly being in hot water for doing their own deals in their stores, but this patent's limited to GPS. GPS doesn't work very well indoors.
Yeah.
So getting somebody to a store via GPS, this patent's very, very good at doing that. Yeah. But once you're in a store and delivering a coupon to somebody, now you need technologies like Wi-Fi or some kind of new version of Bluetooth, which I'm not a huge fan of. Or something else altogether that is yet to be invented. So.
Well, and hopefully it kind of pushes everybody. This is a wake-up call. Whether Poynt goes after anybody or not, hopefully this is a wake-up call to get beyond the coupon, because we all know that mobile marketing is not coupon-based, and it shouldn't be. But there's got to be something beyond this, and hopefully this is one of those steps that, if this puts an end to that industry, where everybody's Me Too in the coupon space, I'll be big fan of Poynt. But so carrying on in this location space, Apple announced. I think they actually distributed a developer beta version of iOS 4.3 for the iPhone and for the iPad, and it had some pretty neat features in there. Obviously, some of the stuff that we don't care about because we're focusing on location based. But as a fan of the devices, I care about greatly. But the big one was obviously this iOS feature, Find a Friend.
Yeah, so for the developers that were poking around and guys like Mac Rumors and stuff like that, there's a lot of blog posts out there that there's in there it alludes to this thing called Find a Friend, and so it appears to be something that's very similar to Google Latitude, and where you can track where anybody, all your friends who are on iPads or iPhones, see where they are at any given point in time. An interesting thing about it, from what I've read,
you have to authorize it, right? It just doesn't.
You have to authorize it. Yeah. Interesting thing that I've read about it is that it, to reference our discussion just now about Poynt and the patent, it doesn't rely on GPS only. So it's And so the other thought about it is that, or at least the rumor is that it will be integrated with the next version of Mobile Me, which is kind of Apple's service for cloud syncing of data and services, right? So.
Yep. So this is just a rumor. We don't want to spread rumors, but it's substantiated enough that it's in there, whether it's active or not, on all carriers, on all devices.
Right.
Who knows? But it just shows that There's also been talk of Apple modifying their end user license agreement for the device and the software itself, allowing them to accumulate data on your whereabouts without your knowledge, without significant or specifically signing in. So we know that Apple's going to play in this space. We know that it's very relevant to their ad network. We know all of these things. So this is just another one of those small steps that Apple's going to make, and they'll do it in a way that that is gradual enough, and then all of a sudden it's all iAds being pushed through on your device.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I think Steve Jobs is on record to say that 2011 is the year of mobile me. So, for those of us that are Mac users like myself, I have a mobile me account. It's $99, and it's questionable at times. What are you getting for that money? And so, if he's saying 2011 is the year for mobile me, it'll be great to see what they're adding to it that's going to make it, fabulous. And if this is one of those features, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, so that's an iOS feature that will soon come out, because I'm going to assume that it'll be out before April, because everybody's talking about an iPad release imminent, iPad 2 in April. So looking forward to seeing that. So that's a wrap up of the news. Let's move on to our product of the week, which is an interesting one, because I love stuff like this, and I know you do as well. I'll let you introduce it.
Yeah, so the product of the week is from MomentFeed, and it's called their Location Engagement Analytics service. And so you and I are both huge fans of analytics tools in this space. We've talked about GeoToco a number of times.
Yeah, love GeoToco.
Love it. And as a guy who is used to working with brands and agencies and trying to get them to unlock some dollars and spend some money on location-based services, the constant pushback you get as a consultant that I would get all the time is, well, even if we could do that, Asif, how are we going to measure it? How are we going to determine ROI? How do we know if this campaign's been effective or not? And and it's just there's not been enough analytics tools out there around this stuff. And so this is a great little service, that helps solve some of that problem.
Yeah. So MomentFeed.com, MomentFeed.com.
Right.
And they're in beta, so they're doing a call out for beta users right now. And so if you're working with brands, or you are a brand, the kind of stuff that you'll get from this is great. Competitive analysis of who's checking in where, and it's really real time. And what you want to be able to do with this stuff, though, is action on it, right?
Yeah,
don't just collect it.
Totally, and I love how they're positioning it in terms of they're calling it Google Analytics for the real world.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what it is. It's while you've got things like Google Analytics that can help you understand traffic and statistics around your web presence.
Yeah.
Now if you're a business, if you're a retailer, let's say, and you've got 600 locations. And you've got Foursquare listings for all those locations. How do you track them? How do you pull that all into one dashboard? One view where you can see everything.
Yeah.
So it is really Google Analytics for the real world, in the sense that the real world being all those places, all those locations. So I love it. It's great.
Yeah, and I think the as they move, and as these analytics companies like MomentFeed or GeoToco mature in the industry, it's about then how do they take action. So if I'm standing in your physical location and I've made that trek out there, and I've identified myself as being there, how do you make that experience even greater? And I think that's really where this power of collecting this data, understanding what your users are doing today at this moment, and then pushing back some great things to them, making them lifelong fans of your brand. I think that's really what this has to evolve to, these kind of products.
Yeah, and while we're on that topic of analytics, I want to throw some love out to my my good friend Raul over at Geodelic as well, because Geodelic, while I don't want to dwell on it too much, they did announce this week that a partnership with WebTrends.
Oh, nice. So
WebTrends, who's been in the web analytics space forever, is very active in the mobile measurement side as well, and so Geodelic's marrying up their analytics services to their location piece. So again, the more analytics, the better. So whether you're using GeoToco or you're using MomentFeed or you're using Geodelic plus web trends, just do it, because
measuring.
We got to start measuring.
Yeah. So now our resource of the week, we haven't seen this yet, but it's available, which is eMarketer has published a white paper called Beyond the Check-In.
Right.
Best Practices for Location-Based Marketing. And it's a 22-page document that was published in January by Noah Elkin for eMarketer magazine. And it covers a broad swath of things in the location-based marketing. And I think on first blush, it's a great introduction to this, isn't it? On second blush, is it worth $700? It might be to somebody, but maybe not to our audience. I'm interested to see what would be in this from eMarketer.
Yeah, I haven't read it in any detail either, but what I can tell you is eMarketer is a great organization. It's been around for a long time, extremely reputable, producing good content, and so the few charts and graphs I've seen out of this thing are interesting. I saw one that said that globally there was 215 million location-based users, out there today, and so that's for 2010, and they're predicting that number is going to go to 329 in 2011. So that's a 53% growth.
Yep.
So pretty significant predictions there in terms of global, location-based users, and that's strictly kind of on the mobile device. So that doesn't include guys using navigation services or anything like that.
Well, they've also identified a few trends to watch, and this is all from their table of contents. But they've just get your quick thoughts on this, and then we'll wrap it up. Which is location beyond the physical place. I'm trying to think of a metaphysical out-of-body experience, but so location beyond the physical place, rise of branded location apps, which is an interesting one, and I'm not so sure about that. Passive check-ins, which I guess is voluntary. This is voluntary
right.
check-ins. Geofencing, which I totally agree with. RFID, yeah, but near-field communications, yes. NFC expands. RFID, I would say QR codes are a little bit more advanced than RFID when it comes to these things. And then, the concept that will location-based become a mainstream component of marketing campaigns. And I think that's going to be, that's still an interesting question because we don't know how big the market really is, even if there are 300 million people using it or participating. So do you think that location beyond the physical space, I wish I knew what that meant. But
well, I guess they mean augmented reality, I assume.
Yeah.
But love to get into this more detail. And like you say, I don't know whether $700 is palatable to our viewership. Yeah. But off the cuff here, I'll throw out an idea. I mean, if eMarketer wants to give me a call at the LBMA, I'm willing to create a group buying deal for this report.
There you go. Wow.
I'll be Groupon for location-based market research. How's that?
Yeah, for white paper discounts. I love it. I love it. And the next is membership. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's our resource of the week. It's eMarketer's report on the best practices for location-based marketing done by Noah Elkin, published January 2011, and it's about 22 pages. It's available from eMarketer.com. And that, my friend, is another episode. Episode number 8.
That's it.
When do we start celebrating this? I mean, I think maybe at 10 and 20
sure.
and 25.
Sure. Well, we got to get we need more Sandys out there, yes. commenting on this thing, and we'll have a This Week in Location-Based Marketing party. So
that's right. Wherever you are, we'll do it together. And speaking of parties, happy birthday this week, Asif.
Thank you.
29 again.
29 again. Yeah.
All right. And that's it for this. Don't forget, feedback is very important to us. Offer it anywhere you see this posted, or send us an email. Post a Twitter post about it to at the LBMA, and don't forget you can now subscribe to the RSS feed directly in iTunes, so you can get this on your device wherever you are right away. Usually by midnight on Sunday night when this gets published. So do it today. Do it right now. Asif, thanks. We'll see you next week.
All right. Checking out.